Hello, I am the gaming superhero, and today we travel to Mother Russia to create the kit for her most famous superhero, Colossus, the most prominent X-Men to just be totally ignored by X-Men 97. Well, not totally ignored. He does show up in 2 episodes that end with some weak excuse for why he can't join the team. Still, it's weird that such a well-known member is so heavily sidelined. But that's more of an issue with the show refusing to change or even expand the roster whatsoever, and not what we're here to talk about. So on to Colossus's first comic appearance. So because Marvel Unlimited on PC is such a pain in the ass, I don't have images from the comic to show you like I usually would. I could still read the story on my phone, but I can't find it on like the computer version. So here's whatever Colossus-related B-roll I could find. Pyotr Rasputin, aka Colossus, first appeared in Giant Size X-Men. We opened in Winseldorf, Germany, where Nightcrawler is being chased by a mob. He is saved and recruited by Professor X. We then jump to Quebec, Canada, where we find Wolverine at a military base as he is called in to meet Charles, as well, who offers Wolverine a position on the X-Men. Next is Nashville, Tennessee, to find Banshee, the Irish Lord. Why is he in Nashville, of all places? I have no idea. But Charles gets him to join the team. On to Kenya, where Storm is, and the narration claims her eyes are crystal blue and older than time. The bitch so egomaniacal, she got the narrator believing her bullshit. Anyway, she is giving rain to villagers who ask when Charles comes and gives her a reality check, and it somehow works to convince her to come with him. Say what you want about Charles, but man is running a maxed out charisma build. Next is Osaka, Japan, where Sunfire is recruited. Moving on to Lake Baikal, whatever. Siberia, where we find our boy Peter. Yeah, for some reason he's called Peter in this. He saved the child from a runaway tractor, destroying it with his metal skin. After which he is found by Charles, and you can figure out the rest. We then see Camp Verde, Arizona, where John Proudstar, an Apache ashamed of his people, apparently. He craves adventure and battle, so guess what happens? The bald British man promises just that. But he refuses, because he remembers the last time his people made a deal with white people. But then, Charlie calls him a chicken, so he agrees to show he is the last true man of the Apache. Seems like a really negative representation so far, but I'll wait to see how this plays out. Finally, we have assembled the team at Westchester, New York, where Charles apparently uses his telepathy to teach everyone who needs it English, and give them suits from the Fantastic Four. When Sunfire gets super impatient, despite being one of the more cordial recruits earlier. Luckily, Cyclops reveals himself to explain that the X-Men have disappeared. Cerebro warned of a powerful mutant on the island of Krakoa, so they all left to investigate. But when they arrived, there was a flash, and suddenly Cyclops was alone, back on the Stratojet, with his powers gone. When he returned to the Professor, so did his powers. That catches us up to now, when Sunfire quits, unwilling to help solely because the X-Men are mutants like him, and needs a little more motivation to risk his life. Which is fair. The others, however, leave to save the... Wait a minute. Okay, never mind. Sunfire is coming too. They get to the island, and Colossus is paired with Storm to search the north end of the island. We will stick to them and skip the other teams to keep this recap a reasonable length. Storm and Colossus find a temple but are attacked by an avalanche, before meeting back up with Cyclops, Thunderbird, followed by the rest of the team, so splitting up was pointless. Great! They break into the temple to find the old X-Men being fed on by vines, because the island is the powerful mutant who let Cyclops go to get more mutants for it to feed on. So the old and new team join together to fight the monster, defeating it by fucking with the polarity of the Earth and shooting it into space, I guess. And that concludes Giant Size X-Men. What a crazy ride. A lot of introductions. Colossus Got a bit sidelined, but hey, still pretty good showing. With that done, let's get to his kit. I have made him a tank, obviously. Some characters I decide to go against the grain when deciding roles, but not this time because he fits very nicely and there are very few tanks, so it always feels good to encourage adding another. He is a melee character, so I'm sure you can put that together. I also gave him a passive. Team Player. He gains more damage resistance depending on how many allies are nearby. So you want to try and stay with the team to be the most effective. How much DR you get with all 5 teammates nearby is undetermined, but I imagine it's quite large, given how hard that can be to achieve. Ability 1 is Iron Charge. Run forward, grab the first opponent, and keep running. If you run into terrain with the enemy, they will take major damage. That's right, I gave him a Reinhardt charge, with a turn radius closer to the Thing's charge, so you could run, grab an enemy, and run back to your team to gang up on them. This works through shields and barriers, so he will still grab an opponent with any of those up, and it will not stop Colossus. I can't decide how it should interact with the Thing's passive, or Emma Frost Diamond form now. Whether he is just immune to Iron Charge, or if it's the one exception that will displace him. There is an argument for both, so feel free to discuss in the comments. And again, I wrote this before Emma's reveal, so yeah, there's gonna be quite a bit of stuff like that, so I'll just let you know when we get to more of that. Ability 2, Russian Bomb. Grab a nearby enemy and leap into the air, slamming into the ground, dealing massive damage to the grabbed opponent, and decent damage to any enemies in the radius of the impact. It will also give bonus health to Colossus and any allies within the radius of the impact. So a nice combo between the charge and then into the bomb to just delete an enemy, and if you run an enemy back to the team to give them bonus health as well, it could be really crazy. Currently, I'm thinking if you fail to crash into a wall, the enemy will be flung forward to a distance too far to immediately use the bomb. So if you want to do a true combo, you would need to crash into something, which shouldn't be hard with the rival's turn radius for charges like this. The ultimate is Pick on Someone Your Own Size. A very long title, but what it does is give Colossus a shit ton of bonus health, and will lock enemy crosshairs onto him, so enemies are unable to aim at anyone else. Similar to a taunt in RPGs, where the enemy is forced to one character, allowing your team to go all out with no fear of retaliation. So Colossus is going to need a lot of bonus health to not die immediately, and make the ult worth using. The crosshairs aren't locked onto his head, so the enemies won't deal crit damage, but it's still a lot of damage. Finally, I gave him a team-up, so usually I come up with new unique team-ups, and that is still the case here, but I thought I would shout out Fastball Special as a team-up he would be added to, but the team-up I have in mind is Sickle and Hammer. Colossus drops into a portal, and a second portal appears on the ground slightly in front of Colossus, where he comes back up and launches any nearby enemies into the air, dealing damage to them. So essentially, with assistance from Magic's portal, he does like a super big uppercut and launches enemies. A simple team-up that needed to happen given their siblings and all. They needed some kind of team-up. I think this one is pretty good, all things considered. And yeah, I think could be really cool given like other characters, the teleportation, which I think is already sort of a team-up she has, given the one with Black Panther where they can rewind a bit. And that is how I would add the Silver Siberian to Marvel Rivals. Following how I based Hydra Bob off a joke character from fighting games, I based Colossus on grapplers from fighting games, with all of his abilities involving a grab, such as his charge and power bomb, which is the most obvious to where the influence comes from. Definitely a character to be afraid of up close, but from a distance is pretty useless, like all good grapplers should be. Yes, it is my favorite fighting game archetype. How did you guess? Colossus might also be my favorite X-Man, but in all fairness, I have not explored the X-Men mythos enough to make a well-informed decision on that. Who is your favorite X-Men as we cruise through X-Month? And yeah, I guess Emma is sort of a grappler already she has a command grab. So apparently they had the same idea. Wrong character though. But yeah, so I decided to do that before Emma, and it's just crazy that like almost immediately they did that. Like even like as of today, as I'm dropping this, Emma is in the game, and like not to the same extent I did. Obviously, all of his abilities involve like grabbing and throwing around enemies. She only has the one, but still, it's crazy that it's happened so close together. And by complete coincidence, I didn't like make this after I saw Emma and like get the idea. I had the idea first, damn it. This keeps happening. This happened last time with the Kingpin passive, and now it's happening again. God damn it. When will these companies stop hacking into my Google Docs and getting ideas from me? Stop it. Anyway, remember, 100 subscribers, and you get that nice fancy Discord server. And you're welcome for all this full, thick Russian